So Marnie season is officially here, and to no one's surprise, the product is hard to get. The promo card that comes in the box is selling for almost double the price of the box, and Ludkins has posted a very clickbaity article that raises a very legitimate question. Are people collecting this Marnie card and freaking out over this box because it's a waifu card? Mind you, Marnie is supposed to be 10 to 12 years old, and that borders on creepy if not illegal. Well, there's that, and most concerning of all is the fact that I haven't made an Alinity joke in about 3 weeks worth of videos. So, we have a very clear agenda for today's video, but first, roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we talk about the Pokemon TCG Marnie Premium Tournament Collection. Today we're going over, I guess, what could effectively be considered an analysis and, everything you need to know about the box as it is right now. Mind you, this video is coming out August 12th of 2021, so obviously things will change as this box stops being produced and stops appearing on store shelves, but this box launched about 1 week ago today, and ever since it has been a huge hit in the Pokemon TCG community. Now, as you can see, I'm on the PokemonCenter.com website, and you can see that the box is actually finally up on the website. Now, this wasn't the case last week Friday. In fact, this was only placed onto the website this week, I believe on Tuesday, when this week Tuesday's video came out. Now, if I go ahead and try to refresh this, you'd be surprised to find out that, surprise, the item is out of stock. So first things first, let's take a look at the box itself. As you can see, it's a pretty interesting shape. It kind of looks like a weird milk carton or something of that nature, and then obviously it features everyone's favorite character from the Sword and Shield era, which is Marnie. Now, the TCG Premium Tournament Collection includes the Full Art Supporter card featuring Marnie, so this is the equivalent of the Shiny Star V Marnie that we never got here in the United States. It finally did come out here as the promo card for this particular box. In addition to that, you do get 3 additional foil supporter cards, so those are basically just another version but shiny. You also get 65 card sleeves, you also get a deck box, you also get a large metallic coin featuring Marnie, as well as 2 coin condition markers, 5 damage dice, and then 7 Pokemon TCG booster packs, and a code card. So here's a look at the Marnie card itself. It's pretty cool because it's, the exact alternate art card that we never got here in the United States, but it was in Shiny Star V, the Japanese equivalent of what we consider Shining Fates. So this card was in that set but is not here. Then, of course, as mentioned, you do get these 3 foil cards, which are pretty neat given that they have, I guess, the character's autograph, which is pretty cool. You do get the deck sleeves, which are pretty neat. They feature the same exact artwork that you would have gotten in the trainer cards. Here is the metal coin. Obviously, it's just a metal coin. You get these 7 packs. Let's take a look at the assortment real quick. You get Sword and Shield, Darkness Ablaze, Vivid, Battle, and then Chilling Reign. So I think that's everything other than Rebel Clash. So you do get a pretty nice assortment of Sword and Shield era stuff. It looks like for some of the newer items, they are not mixing in like a random Sun and Moon pack like we had seen back in the Sun and Moon era, where occasionally you would get something like an Evolutions pack, etc, etc. So it seems like right here they're really kind of focused in on the Sword and Shield era. But when you think about it, that does make a lot of sense given that this is a Sword and Shield era character, and she's such a, favorite part and a fan favorite character from that particular era. Here are the items. So you get the 2 status things, you get the dice, and then you get the damage dice. So there's all that kind of stuff. And then there's, of course, that code card. So that is like the Marnie exclusive box. The deck box is right here, as you can see on screen. And then finally but not least, here is, I guess, the top and back of the box. Now, interestingly enough, if I scroll down, one thing that I wanted to point out is the purchase limit of 1. Now, the Pokemon Center has rolled out a variety of different purchase limits on a variety of different items. Most times what you find is that it's a purchase limit of 4 or a purchase limit of 2 or even a purchase limit of 36 if it's something like individual blisters. But the one thing that I found really interesting is that a purchase limit of 1 is actually pretty low for the Pokemon Center. Mind you, this is the Pokemon Center. This is Pokemon's main mechanism through which they can sell at retail and cut out the middleman of a retail store. So it's interesting that this is a purchase limit of 1. It just goes to show how limited in supply this stuff is, and whether that be because one of these items is difficult to create or in short supply or something else. It's just really fascinating to kind of see that play out with such a low and restrictive purchase limit. Now, I do know many people who were able to purchase one of these at MSRP. Mind you, MSRP is $40 US, so there is no reason that anybody should be purchasing this at or above MSRP. It's my own personal opinion here, but even though the purchase limit of 1 per person is really low and really restrictive, I do have a feeling more of these are on the way. Every single thing that we've seen from the Pokemon company right now indicates they are printing and printing and printing. We've seen Vivid Voltage boxes this year alone go from about $200 to about $120 per box, which again is really indicative of this idea that they're printing stuff. And so even though I think on initial release these are really hard to find and are really in low supply, I do believe that given the chance, Pokemon will try to print a few more of these, especially given the fact that she's such a favorite character of the era and the generation that I don't think there's a reason to make this an artificially low amount and then pretend like, oh, we can't make any more. This is one of those instances where they're just practically printing money. As long as they can manage the costs and have a good margin, there's no real business benefit to keeping this in low supply. I've said this many times before, but obviously Pokemon doesn't make money when this gets in the hands of someone who's going to scalp it for $70. So there's no reason to keep, the supply super low in an attempt to, benefit themselves, because they won't. The only way they benefit is if they sell this stuff at MSRP or near distributor pricing, and that's how they make money. So the more of this they print, the more money they get. There's a real, very clear demonstrated reason why they should be printing more, and I frankly believe they will. So there's my little philosophical debate about that. The next thing is the eBay prices, and these are interesting. So I went ahead and, did the standard eBay search, type it in, look it up, and see what we see. So here is what I have found. We saw one literally end today for $33. Now, $33 is approximately 75% of the value of the box. Mind you, you're getting 7 booster packs, each of which could conservatively be valued at about $3 each. So that's a lot of value in that box, which makes sense given that we see it selling for over $70 sealed on the secondary market. In case no one knows, these boxes are being listed consistently on eBay and on various websites for upwards of $60 to $80 per box. So mind you, MSRP on this thing should only be $40, and people are selling them for nearly double MSRP. As you can see here, the promo card for the Marnie, like the Marnie box, the Marnie promo is worth almost MSRP. So it's really interesting because this is one of those cards that is in such high demand that if you can get your hands on one of these boxes, it's almost always going to be a win. We haven't really seen this because the market has more or less been stagnant and or on a slight decline over the past couple of months. So it's really interesting to see something like this because it really just kind of hasn't happened in, the past 6 months. And it's really fascinating to watch this stuff play out in live time. Do bear in mind, since it's in high demand, prices will be inflated. If I scroll down, you'll see like one in the sealed plastic, and mind you, it comes in a very similar way to the ETB promos. This one sold for $58. So bear in mind that if you take it out of the plastic, it seems to drop in value pretty severely, but at a, sealed premium, you're looking at about over MSRP for this thing. Needless to say, this is one of those situations where the promo itself pays for the other contents of the box. So, like I said, if you can get your hands on one of these it's a pretty decent value, and I'm hoping to have a few of them. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have enough to like open it up to the community to buy, but I do hope to get a few for myself just to kind of have sealed. I do, think it's one of those things that you could buy it, hold it, in the future it may be worth some extra cash, and that's always good to help with my current collection goals at the time. If anyone's curious, I haven't played Sword and Shield yet because I'm waiting for the Switch Pro. And so I really just haven't had a chance to like interact with the character in the video game world, which is probably why, like, to me she's just another character that I don't know. But I do, appreciate the fact that she's a fan favorite. I have a feeling I'm also going to like the character once I start playing the game. And so it's just one of those situations where, up till now for me, it's more just about, I know other people want it, and so I know it's a pretty smart move as a collector and as a investor to hopefully put some of these away and just kind of, let them chill, age well. I also think it displays really well, so those are my own personal thoughts on it. Finally but not least, for today's topic is the age-old debate about waifu Pokemon cards. So, obviously, as many of my videos, it's at least partly based on the website you're seeing on screen, which is Ludkin's Media. I'll have a link down to this particular article down below, and as always, if it isn't there, just feel free to remind me either in the comments or by reaching out, and I'll do my best to get you the link. So, this article is titled, "We Need to Talk About Marnie," and it basically, starts out by reiterating basically everything that we've already gone through in this video. Shiny Star V launched at the end of 2020. The Marnie Full Art card overtook the Shiny Charizard VMAX to become the most expensive chase card in the set. So here is the Japanese version of the card, and this card was worth more than the Shiny Charizard VMAX was in Shiny Star V. So just as a reference, it was hilariously expensive as a card. If you hit this card, you were in it big time. Now, in the English version of Shiny Star V, which is Shining Fates, we never got that card. Instead, we got the card as a promo in the box, which is what we went through at the beginning of the video. So now the article goes on sort of outline like, hey, here's all of the things that you missed. But the one thing that they make a sticking point of is this section of the article right here, and this is what I wanted to kind of go through because I think it's really interesting to see how all of these different dimensions of collecting are starting to overlap, and also I find it concerning because sometimes these things can get a little weird and definitely border on creepy, and perhaps even exceed that. So bear in mind, this may not be the easiest thing to hear, but it is important to talk about because we do need to have a larger discussion about this type of topic to make sure that this community remains safe, appropriate, and accessible to all. So, from a play perspective, the article goes on to reiterate that Marnie is a very, very good card, and I've seen this argument made. Marnie's a good card because effectively, if you have a bad hand, you can just play the supporter card, you put your hand on the bottom of your deck, and you grab that, and you grab 5 new cards. And it's really, really good because what can end up happening is not only can you get out of a bad situation by getting new cards to play with, but you can also mess up your opponent's current strategy because if they've been aggregating cards in their hand for part of their larger strategy, they're also forced to take all of those cards and put them back into their deck and draw completely new cards. So you can interrupt their strategy while getting yourself out of a jam, which again is really, really cool. So, they say that for a variety of reasons, Marnie is a valid card, and there are many, many reasons why collectors would, and players specifically, would be going after this card. It's an important card, it's a valuable part of many people's strategy, and the current TCG is really, really favoring this card from a play perspective. However, the other factor is Japanese waifu culture. So an anime, waifu referring to an anime character that is considered a wife. So, for Twitch, and then the article goes on to reiterate like, hey, there are Twitch streamers that focus on this stuff, and all they do is open looking for waifu cards. And, we've seen this debate spread across many, many different hobbies. There are many, many different types of waifu characters out there, and it's one of those pretty consistent things that is more or less derived from the culture from which anime comes from. And seeing how anime comes from Japan, Japan just sort of has that sort of inbuilt into much of the anime world that we typically get here in the United States as sort of a secondary market. So, the thing is that Japanese waifu culture may be driving part of Marnie's increased popularity. Essentially, the popularity for female trainer cards, and Marnie in particular, is driven by the concept of sexualizing female anime characters, which can be seen as particularly disturbing when you realize Marnie is meant to be a 10 or 12-year-old girl. So, yeah, that's kind of the big problem with, you know, anything bordering on, oh, I collect Marnie because she's a waifu. She's also 10 to 12 years old, sir or madam, and that's just creepy. The idea behind waifu isn't exclusive to females either. Husbando is the male equivalent. And the thing is that it's not as popular because it's primarily a male-dominated hobby. So it's one of those situations, right? I don't necessarily know if I agree with the whole male-dominated hobby thing. I definitely think there are a lot more males, but I've seen an increase in female presence, which I think is very well welcomed in the hobby. But to the point this article is primarily trying to make, there are a lot of people out there that collect waifu cards. And I guess we then get into that whole debate of, you know, there are some people, mind you, none of these are my opinions, but there are some people who argue that since it's not overtly sexualizing a female anime character, it's totally fine to do so. There are some people where it's like, oh, well, I'm not overtly sexualizing her, I'm just collecting the card because I like to collect the card, and that's fine. Then there are some people where it's like, oh, well, she has to be 18 years or older, and then it's fine. And then there are people who are just straight up creeps and border on, like, illegal activity with their Rule 34 stuff. So, those are a variety of the different sort of spectrums that exist along the arguments for waifu collections. I personally don't really want to ever approach the creepy level, as I think most reasonable people will. And I think it's one of those things. We need to be really careful, right? Because it's one thing to collect a female full art supporter card because you think it's cool. It's another thing if there are other motivations or things that drive your collection goals. And that can be creepy, that can be weird. And just so everybody is aware, if you go and type in Marnie Full Art Promo and search it on Google or on eBay specifically, you will find some creepy. Fair warning, don't do it unless you're prepared for what you're about to see. So that just goes to show you the overall state of, you know, some weird fringes of the hobby. So yeah, it's one of those things where those weird fringes of the hobby can get kind of creepy, border on weird, and that's where I think we really need to step it up as a community, because there's no place for that in our hobby, period, end of story. It's just wrong. And then there are people who want to collect the cards because they like the character, or because it's a cool, you know, card, or because of the TCG history behind it, to which I say, do it. You know, it's all fun. So I think it's one of those things, right? It exists on a spectrum, but we also need to then draw a very clear, fine line and say, this is what is good or allowable, and this is what is not. Now, the article goes ahead and wraps up. It says, if you can pick one of these up for retail, it's a no-brainer decision. Obviously, tons of great cards and items and pieces in the box. But it does beg the question, and this is kind of what I was getting at just now. At what point do we question the ideologies behind specific cards being worth a higher amount due to clothes, position, facial features of a female anime character within the hobby? I would even go a little further than that. At what point do we question the ideologies behind the individuals who are collecting or paying a premium for these cards? Why are they buying it? I think that's the point. If it's because you like the character, cool, happy for you. If your motivations are based on the concept of sexualizing a female anime character who happens to be 10 to 12 years old, you're going to jail. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you learned something new about Marnie, the great debate of Japanese anime waifu culture, or something about the Pokemon TCG in general, please feel free to leave a like down below. Let me know your thoughts down below on waifu collecting. It's a controversial topic at times, so please do keep it civil down below if there is a larger debate that needs to get had. But as always, I welcome the conversation. Please feel free. I will be down there waiting for your comments. And as always, thanks again for your viewership. You could have been anywhere on the internet, but you chose to spend some time with me, and that means the world. Other than that, friends, thanks again for checking out another video, and we will talk soon. Peace.